Me. All right, Boog, you think this offense will actually be a big revival for Russell Wilson?
Well, if there's any offense that can be a revival, it's going to be this one, because at his best, Russ is a play-action quarterback that needs help to be able to throw the football down the field. He's been one of the better deep ball throwers since he's been in the National Football League, but the thing that he does best is the improvisational plays. If you're asking Russell Wilson to drop back in the pocket and read a defense and throw the football across the middle, I don't think he's ever done that well because of his height and hadn't been able to see it. If you look at Russ at his best, it's been running the football, play action pass, and then the improvisational plays. I think with Arthur Smith as a coordinator, we know they're going to run the football. They're going to be physical. And I think that will open the field up for Russ to push the football down the field and across the middle. If he can't get it done in this offense, he may as well go ahead and retire and get a tea time with me, Orlovsky, and Graziano.
Don't leave me out.
That'd be a good foursome. Yeah, you paying, and where are we going? Here's where I stand with Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh. I think he's going to be their opening day starter. He will be on the bench if he stresses this defense too much. Boog, you could speak to it a little bit better than I can. I think there's two ways that quarterbacks sometimes stress defenses. Number one, they're so cautious with the football, and they never want to do anything bad that the defense sits there and goes, all right, if we give up 10 points, game's over because our quarterback can't score more than that. Or on the other side is they try to do so much, and Russ can fall into this trap of trying to force the ball so much and make so many big plays to prove that he's still that guy that all of a sudden mistakes become an issue. And then the defense is thinking, well, if we give up 21, we lose because our offense is kind of constantly turn the football over. And I think he's got to find that fine line this year of not stressing that, because there's the reality this defense has had quarterback stress since Ben Roethlisberger left it, and really the last year or two of his own career. So I think they got to find the Russell Wilson that doesn't tax his own defense so much with his style of play.
It's a great defense, but they have been taxed, to your point, Dan. Graz, all this considered, Russ still isn't announced as the day one starter, so...
Right. Yeah, I mean, look, Mike Tomlin and Arthur Smith have both used the phrase pole position to describe where Russell Wilson is in this competition, but it's going to be a competition. The reality of it is there has not been much on-field work yet for any team, including the Pittsburgh Steelers. When they get to training camp, I think that's where the rubber meets the road in terms of the competition, and they've been clear that Justin Fields will get an opportunity to show what he can do and potentially win that job. Remember, their commitment to Russell Wilson this year financially is literally minimal. It is the veteran minimum salary for Russell Wilson's years of service time. So they could, if it doesn't work out with Russell, they can say goodbye. They can move on to Justin Fields. Perhaps they think he has a brighter future. It's all up in the air. They say pole position. Not every car that starts in the pole position wins the race.
Okay, so all three of them really brought up some very interesting points and very different points. I'm always a big fan of looking at the defense when you're a quarterback and seeing what that role has. And I've talked about this a lot. And it's a two-way street, right? Because if you know the defense is really good and they can get you extra possessions, good field position, then it is kind of like up to the offense to kind of bring that home. Not to mention it also changes the game plan. If you know you have a great defense, then you know that you don't have to put up 28 points to win a game. Then you're going to play more careful, more conservative football, which is exactly what the Chiefs did, and that's how they won the Super Bowl. So if it works for Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, it can work for anyone. So that's that side of the coin. But what Booger brought up, which I thought was interesting, is that usually when a quarterback is kind of starting to, I don't want to say fail, that's too strong of a word, but lack some success and even some not popularity, but just respect from his peers, usually you want to go to the fundamentals. It's like, just do the fundamentals, take care of the football, make the correct reads, put your team in a good position, yada yada yada, and reduce some of the more improv magical type plays. But what Booger is saying is that that's not what Russ does well, that he's not good at those types of things, that what makes Russ essentially an NFL quarterback is to improv, is to do some of the more magical type stuff. And it's an interesting question to ponder, because in a lot of ways, when you have a great hard hitting defense like the Steelers should have this season, you would say, I just need a quarterback to do the fundamentals. I just need a quarterback to do the basic things, because if they do that and they run just a smooth offense that doesn't take away from our team and can just contribute, then we should win games. We should win a lot of games. And the problem is that for the Steelers, they haven't had a good quarterback for years that could do the basic fundamentals, the football 101, what you're learning in Pee Wee football, and just do this consistently in a way that puts the Steelers in an advantage. If anything, the offense was putting the Steelers in a disadvantage game after game after game, which is what Orlovsky was pointing out. And so it's just a very interesting thing, because now you got Russ and Justin Fields, for that matter, who are also they're praised for their ability to improv and run around in circles and do all this crazy wacky stuff. So it's just very interesting to be like, well, how does this land then? Is Russ going to try to minimize that? Because that's stuff that was driving Sean Payton mad. Sean Payton just wants a Drew Brees who's going to be boring, who's just going to drop back, go through his progressions, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Throw the ball, throw it away, whatever. Like, not all this fancy improv stuff. And that's why Sean Payton was just like, just do what I'm asking you to do, and we can win games. But Russ proved to be incapable of that, or just refused to do that. So that's why Russ, to me, this season is going to be a fascinating question mark here, because I'm curious to see what are the Steelers going to ask him to do. And I really do think that the way to go about it is more conservative, is to get Russ to do the basics, do the fundamentals, pretty much kind of like the opposite of what Booger was talking about. But when the game calls for it, when the moment calls for it, then you can do the improv, right? Do it about once or twice a game, but it can't be your default. It just can't be. It's not even Patrick Mahomes' default, okay? And again, if it's not Patrick Mahomes' default, why do you think it should be yours? So that's where I think the Steelers could win some games and do well with Russ. If he can be just a smart veteran who understands how to run an offense, who understands what the defensive game plans are going to be, and just do the basics. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to push the ball down the field every 5 seconds. You don't have to scramble and buy time in the pocket, play after play after play. You don't have to do that. You don't have to take sacks. You don't have to get interceptions. You don't have to set your team up for failure. Just do the basics. Just do the fundamentals. I know you're trying to prove to everyone that you still got it. Let this be a defensive-led team, because even your head coach is a defensive head coach, and just contribute, which is, again, exactly what Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs did. And again, they won a Super Bowl, so it clearly works. It may not be the most ideal way to win, right? And it wasn't even the Kansas City Chiefs' favorite way to win, but it works. And I just think if that's the case, and that's where then you would favor Russ over Justin Fields, because you don't have the confidence that Justin Fields would be able to do that. Not to mention, Justin Fields is trying to play for like another contract. Russ got his money. Russ is trying to play more for pride at this point, which I understand, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But I just think that hopefully, as long as Russell Wilson has been truly humbled, and you don't know, honestly, you really don't. But if he's truly been humbled enough and can kind of, again, just do what's asked of him, then I do think then that the Steelers could be a good team, could be a tough out, considering the success that they've had for the past years or what have you, and not having a good competent quarterback. The truth is that Russell Wilson is a competent quarterback. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind in that. He's not a spaz. He's not a bust. He's not a disaster. You're not like, oh, God, we have no idea what we're getting with Russ. He's not a backup quarterback where it's a genuine roll of the dice where you're just like, I have no idea what I'm getting here. That's not who Russ is. So as long as they can get consistency and, again, a conservative Russ, then I think with that defense, then the Steelers should be able to win some games and be a contender. And then who knows? But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Russell Wilson and the Pittsburgh Steelers? Do you think, do you agree more with what Booger's saying, where they need to be able to highlight what Russ does and have him do more of the improv type stuff? Or do you think it's more about what Orlovsky is talking about, where, hey, it's actually, you know, be a little bit more conservative, but it's got to be a balance, right? Put your defense in a good position. Or do you think that, hey, he might not even be the starter, it's actually going to be Justin Fields? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.